Today we're getting bewitched with Vanity Fair, hearing wedding bells with Vogue Scandinavia, and getting country with Vogue Portugal. My name is Marco, welcome to the Model Gene, and if you're ready to dissect this month's covers, hit that like button and let's get started on November's Battle of the Covers. Starting off with Vogue US, we have Billie Eilish by Mikael Jansson, and I really like this cover of her. The styling here is perfect, reflecting her affinity for masculine silhouettes, but still embracing her femininity. She looks fashionable, but not unrecognizable. The color palette is really beautiful as well. The pale yellow with her pink lip and icy blue eyes is nice. I'm happy to see when Vogue US is not a complete flop. Saoirse Ronan is on the cover of British Vogue, and we finally have a nice cover for this magazine. I really enjoy the perspective of photographer Jack Davison. You can tell he isn't exactly a fashion photographer, in that he thinks more about concept and art than the clothes, but I admire that. The same was true for Peter Lindbergh. It wasn't the clothes that motivated him, rather the personality of his subjects. In this cover of Saoirse, she is evoking an Art Deco illustration, like the Vogue covers from the 1920s and early 1930s. The photo is almost too dark, but I love how dominant the shadows are here. He is really painting with his camera. This is easily my favorite British Vogue cover from 2024. Vogue Italia's cover of Lana Del Rey is so uninspired. I'm finding Meisel to be one of the most talented but often lazy photographers in the industry. I, of course, am a huge fan of his work, but I have to be honest when I see something like this. As is all too common with his work now, the retouching is super aggressive in all the same places, like her neck, around her mouth. Gloss Studios is doing the retouching, not a fan of their work, and they are doing this type of retouching for other big names like Craig McDean. She looks pretty, the makeup is pretty, but for someone as moody as Lana Del Rey, they should have pushed harder here. Vogue France's cover of Anne Hathaway leaves me wanting more. She is cosplaying as Karolina, and they wanted to go for a Parisian minimalism, which is fine, but this black dress hides her body. It isn't a horrific image, but there's nothing exciting to catch your eye. Vogue Portugal's November issue is dedicated to icons like Twiggy, Dolly Parton, Betty Davis, Prince, and Franca Sozzani, a rather incongruous selection, but fun nonetheless. Jesus Isnard's tribute to Franca Sozzani is my personal favorite of these covers. Under Franca Sozzani's reign from 1988 to 2016, Vogue Italia was the Vogue that cared the most deeply about the art of photography, a reputation that has fallen since her untimely death, but that torch has been passed to Vogue Portugal. This portrait has the quality that I loved about one of Franca's most beloved collaborators, Peter Lindbergh, and that is timelessness. There is nothing gimmicky about the image, nothing that will date it to a certain fashion trend, and instead, the focus is on composition and painting with light. This is my favorite cover of the month. The Dolly Parton tribute is quite smart, using these buttons rather than the obvious choice of a cowgirl getup on a busty blonde. With a career that spans so many decades, this was a way to showcase that evolution, but graphically, even if they were just colorful buttons, the image would have worked. The buttons create an interesting texture and pattern with the size and color variations, almost like paillettes. Twiggy's floating head cover is very glam, very disco, very Twiggy, highlighting her iconic eyes. With how simple the image is, I wish more attention was given to the headpiece. They should have placed it more symmetrically. The Betty Davis tribute is maybe the most conservative of the covers. Nice, but not necessarily memorable. Elio Nogueira's Prince cover is my least favorite. It doesn't feel expensive, definitely doesn't feel fashion, but rather a bad Halloween costume of Prince. There are a lot of ways to pay tribute to Prince, and this fell short for me. For Vogue España, Adriana Lima's two covers seem to be a reaction to a red carpet appearance where Adriana's extreme makeup set the internet ablaze with rumors of all the extensive surgery she had done, which is proof that gay men are untrustworthy and will ruin your life. A few days later, she posted this makeup-free selfie and addressed the backlash, so I'm not surprised that these covers have gone in the opposite direction. With that being said, I don't like the styling in these covers, and the coolness of her skin tone doesn't make her look vibrant. So as much as I love her, I don't love these covers. Vogue POLSKA, I love these two covers for the November issue. In the color image, we have the orthogonal pattern of the cinema chairs that is broken up by her outstretched body. I love her twisted arms here, and although I wish that the dress was something that played with color, I think this is a job well done. The black and white cover is maybe less interesting, but I love the styling here. The hair, the body language of the models, and the rest of the fashion story is really great as well. I'm very impressed with Vogue POLSKA this month. I hope this will continue for next month. Harper's BAZAAR Italia's covers of Libby Bennett and Joel Kemp by Alasdair McLellan are cozy and warm, what I expect from him. By looking at the covers in black and white, you can see their use of contrast makes them successful even like that, but I much prefer the images in color. My one question is regarding the cover of Joel Kemp, my favorite of the three, but I wonder why they opted for this lighter, greener sky rather than keeping the color consistent throughout the three covers. Either way, I love Alasdair McLellan and these covers of Harper's Bazaar Italia. For Harper's Bazaar France, Robin Galiegue made the smart decision to cover most of Gigi's face, and by doing so, he was able to eliminate so much of the retouching that is done to all of her covers. There's too much black on the cover, her forehead is even covered by the text. Definitely not my favorite cover from the magazine. Naomi Campbell is on the cover of V magazine, a strange offering by Sølve Sundsbø. In the side profile shot, I cannot get over the amateur masking in Photoshop of the V on the front of her face. I just don't know why they didn't add a bit of the blur, but I guess they wanted to go for more of a collage look. I think the same is true with the other cover, with the lace being added afterward, because the contours do not follow the morphology of her face. Sølve and Naomi have worked together for decades now, but I wish this cover was something I could get more excited about. Vanity Fair has Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo on their covers, and poor Ariana, she just looks like she is trying to see in her photos. Cynthia looks lovely in her solo cover, very commanding and powerful. I also noticed that they shot this at the Paramount lot, where Peter Lindbergh shot the Pirelli calendar in 2002. I think Norman Jean Roy is a very natural fit for Vanity Fair. I usually don't mention the Vogue Scandinavia covers because of how average they are, but we have reached a new low with this cover of Swarovski's creative director, Giovanna Engelbert. This is one of the most over-retouched Vogue covers I've seen in a while. It looks fully AI generated, and I have to assume Swarovski dropped a bunch of cash to get Giovanna on this cover. It is a shame because the digital cover is actually very sweet, of record-breaking pole vaulter Mondo Duplantis and his now fiancée Desiree, where he surprised her by proposing on set. This melted my cold, embittered heart. Congratulations to the happy couple, and I hope your future looks brighter than the future of Vogue Scandinavia. Numero Netherlands has far too many covers, but I'm not surprised that they are trying to get any D-list celebrity and consider it a win. Yolanda Hadid's retouched face looks scary, and she is definitely being upstaged by the horse. They have two landscape images that are rotated for the cover. Nice images, but I find doing this on a cover to be annoying. My poor Kelly Rowland, this is some Matthieu Knowles making sure Beyonce is the star level sabotage for this cover. This looks like a set for when a model signs with an agency in the middle of nowhere and they make them pay for a $500 test shoot. If the colors were a bit different, I don't think it would be so garish to look at, but this chartreuse floor pains me. This is my pick for the worst cover of the month. Dita Von Teese looks gorgeous, but the dirty wall behind her is a disservice to her beauty. At least Kelly Rutherford got this background. The best cover is of Kit Butler by Zeb Damon. My one issue would be how his hair is styled, because it doesn't really go with this cowboy theme for the rest of the story, but I loved how soft the light is and how it shows off his beauty. Paul Mescal is on the cover of GQ, promoting his upcoming role in Gladiator, and I'm very confused about the way they crop this image. It doesn't make sense to cut him at the knee and mid-arm. It doesn't look like there was any care taken on how his face was lit, with how his eyes are completely in shadow. Paul Mescal is a great actor, and this cover does not play to his strengths. I mean, the least they could do was lube up those legs with baby oil. Diddy doesn't need those bottles anymore. And that is where today's review is going to end. But for more about the fashion industry, check out the links below. Let me know in the comments what you thought about the covers this month, and be sure to subscribe to find out who comes out on top next month in the battle of the covers.